Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Flames Unfiltered. We are your hosts, Kyle Lewis and Brad Burud. And that intro is the end of my optimism.
That's all you got?
That's all I got. So before we get into anything, we'd just like everybody to know that today has been fraught with technical difficulties and false starts and all kinds of things, not unlike the Flames themselves. So
we're about as good as our defense is right now. Actually, I shouldn't rip on the defense right now. We're about as good as who do I want to pick on today? I don't even know. I'm struggling. I have no notes today. Because Microsoft, everybody loves Microsoft. It won't even let me sign into my notes. So we are completely flying from the seat of my pants, which is probably what we should be doing. Hence the way the team. Do you feel like they're like last night's loss to Edmonton? Albeit I thought we played decent and the loss, honestly, to Dallas, I was an amazing game, and we'll get into that. But I felt like after the loss last night, it's like, all right, well, we gained a point, but when I start to look at the standings, it's like
it doesn't matter.
I know.
Actually, I'm gonna get this out too. I thought of this earlier. You just reminded me of it. I really hate when the official Flames account, like on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, they'll post like "got a point." Instead of like trying to throw they're trying to like throw like some crumb of optimism at us. It's like we can't. 1 point doesn't help. Like at this point, it really doesn't help. We needed 2, we didn't get 2. Just put like tough loss, close game.
Yeah,
like, something when they put like got a point. It's like doesn't matter, man. It's not good enough.
I know they have to put that, just for sake of I don't know, but. It's kind of like last night was like the point. We don't have any time for moral victories right now. We just don't. And gaining a point doesn't do us anything right now. When you're sitting here and I can pull the standings up, and hopefully that works on the technical end of it. But you sit and you look at it, and it's like I don't see where it's going to matter, right?
It's not. The Blues are way, way, way too hot. And nobody is going to stumble that badly going into, the last couple of games in the playoffs. So the worst of it is, and I never like to look at this, but for some reason today it caught my eye. The Flames have 80 points. Like they're in the first wild card spot, or rather the second wild card spot in the East. In the East.
Oh, in the East. I was going to say, Kyle, you're drinking.
Yeah. Well, I thought about it. Yeah, and it's, each conference is different. Obviously, the West is significantly stronger, although I'd argue the East is everybody's top heavy. That sucks, and it sucks because I guess we should be. I want to say grateful that we made it till the end of March being competitive. Although all the people are going to bemoan the fact because it puts us further away from a high draft pick, but it's like just a total kick in the nuts. I mean, even the game against Dallas, I want to talk about that. You want to start? Do you care why I start? Again, we're flying off the seat of our pants here. Like,
do I care? No, I'm good.
So here's the thing about the Dallas game, and I was super, super angry. Anybody who follows me knows how angry I was because the Flames got dicked around. I thought the Cgy goal probably, you could call that back for sure. The Farabee one I thought was bullshit.
I was totally with you on the Cgy kick in. Like I watched it over and over, and I'm like, I don't know if it's a distinct kicking motion, but like I could probably get on board and live with it, right? Yeah. I can live with it, but we've talked about this. It's pretty sad when we talk about one team, and I'm pretty sure we brought up goaltender interference 6 or 7 times this season on the show, and it's an issue with NHL. And I think it's a much bigger issue than is even talked about because people are starting to question the credibility of the league and things like that with the inconsistencies on it. And I know they had a meeting at the general manager's meeting and all was solved, and all was wonderful. And then we have that one, and I have people that I'm following on X and that are not Flames fans, and they're saying it's a goal, right? And I don't know. I think if you asked Dallas after the game, they probably would have said geez, it's not a goal.
Well, you heard
it's a goal. It's a goal. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
You heard about the explanation that the fair begat, eh? Like,
how bad is that?
It's. I actually understood, I think, what the ref was trying to articulate in terms of the goaltender's positioning when the puck went in the net. But I mean, ultimately, it's a moot point because it's like, okay, it's incredibly inconsistent.
Well, the fact though that he said that if it was shot on the, what did they say?
If it went in, if it was blocker side, I think was interference, and glove side wouldn't have been interference.
So why is that? How is that relevant?
The only thing I can figure, and it's not a logical argument at all, but he's basically trying to insinuate that the Smith was in a position wherein he could have potentially made the save on one side, but not the other. But ultimately, the player he was in the crease ever so slightly. He didn't really bump him. Like, the goaltender still moved laterally, and that, to me, that's the point. So
that's exactly.
It's called a good screen, people. We used to like that in hockey. We used to applaud it. Now we just take goals away.
I'm super confused though. I really am. I'm super confused on where we go with this. And I thought a lot about it. And I remember back in the days, and I don't know, you were probably pretty young in the Brett Hull and the crease days, like I thought about it, and I'm like, I'm almost better going back to that, because at least I know that if a skate's in there that it's going to get called off. At least I know then, right? At least I know where the rule is. At least I have some understanding and some black and white definition of where we go with a goal or not goal. Right now, I don't have a damn clue. Like, I really don't have a clue.
Well, that's actually kind of a funny point to bring up with the 99 Sabres Stars series. So yeah, but obviously the league doesn't have any kind of idea. But similarly, Buffalo was never going to win that series. Like, it just wasn't going to happen, right? Because they were down. What, they lose 4-1 in that, I believe it was. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, they lost the series. Oh no, it's actually a little bit tighter than that. In 6 games. Yeah. So anyway, all that to say, the Stars were a really strong team, and Dominic Hasek was the main reason Buffalo was there. Buffalo had a good team, but Hasek was otherworldly. So even though, and it's funny again because it involves the Stars, even though the Flames got kind of screwed on the disallowed goals in that game and outplayed the shit out of Dallas for most of the evening, they were completely undone by the worst players.
Yeah. Like,
breakdowns led to the Dallas goals, a couple of missed calls for sure, but total breakdowns by the fourth line, the third pairing, like. And it's kind of, the narrative has shifted in my head. We used to talk a lot, that's still a good point, about the Flames not having any real star power. I think the bigger issue, because you could take a team like the LA Kings, they don't have any real superstar power right now that I can see, but they're a very deep team. In the case of the Flames, they don't have any star power, but they have, their depth just falls off a cliff at a certain point, like an absolute cliff to the point where you can't even trust putting those guys on the ice.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I went off last week and I was pretty critical and hard on Ryan Huska, and I still have the same questions I had last week. But he puts in, I mean, just for an example, and I'm not saying that, I mean, this is pure coincidence, but he gets Sharangovich back in, which I could, he's the only reason he got back in is because Zary got hurt, and we'll talk about that shortly. But he puts Pahal in again, and I've been a proponent of Pahal all year, and quite honestly, there's a hell of a lot of Calgary Flames fans that are big Braden Pahal fans, and rightfully so. I know you are up at the top of the list, but puts him back in, and then he gets a goal last night. I thought he had a strong night last night.
Goal and an assist.
And I sit and I look at a guy like Miromanov, and even I'll even throw Jake Bean into it too. I sit and I watch them, and I'm like, okay, really, what positively do they bring to the plate? Like, what do they bring into us? And I know me and you have both brought up about Miromanov and say, well, he was a forward change to a defenseman, and he's got the capability of putting offense, and he can fill in up front if we. I mean, come on, this is the NHL. Like, what are we doing here? We're worried about a guy being able to play. I'm like, I just want him to freaking be able to play defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I want, and I don't think he can at this level. I don't.
I don't really see the Bean can either.
I don't either, and that's why I lumped him into this. And I'm sitting here thinking, we have a bottom pairing that I don't trust out there in 99% of the situations, which is scary. And makes you not be a playoff team. That's exactly what it does. It makes you not be a playoff team.
Well, and again, it's the same thing with the fourth line, right? It's hard. And when people like Backlund are injured or are playing poorly, as he didn't get a very good game against Edmonton, it really exposes those other lines so much more. Like, and the bottom parts of this roster are terribly constructed and completely ineffective, and actually aren't just ineffective; they're detrimental to team success. So, I mean, the summer's going to bring some changes, as it always does, but my biggest hope is that there's some major changes to the bottom defense pairing, as well as the fourth line.
The fourth line, I think. I mean, honestly, I think Klapka's been better. And,
sure.
And probably I'm fine having him on the right wing of the fourth line. I probably am. I don't know how I hate to say this. Well, this is crazy because I know a lot of Calgary fans are going to probably crucify me for this. What does Ryan Lomberg bring into the plate right now for us?
Cardio. He's doing a lot of cardio. I thought he was really effective in the early parts of the season. He brought a lot of energy. Obviously, the guys in the dressing room love him, but I don't think that he is the kind of guy that you play in 82 games necessarily, at least. Or, he needs a slightly more capable center because Kevin Rooney's not it, right? So I don't know where I landed him. I'm surprised he's played as much as he has.
And I don't know where I land on him either. It's kind of what I've got bouncing around in my head is trying to figure out, like, really, what does he bring for us? Like, I mean, I want that grit and that, that toughness on our fourth line. And I feel like he's a suitable, capable player. He's not a Milan Lucic out there. I'm not expecting the fourth line to put up big points or anything, but I think for you to be a playoff team, your fourth line has to contribute every night in multiple different ways, right? Once in a while, they got to pop in that odd goal. But I sit and I watch him play, and I'm not so sure I really understand where we came to the justification of $2 million. And one of the things that I'm really frustrated in Calgary, and it seems like we hear this all the time, it's like the guys get along really good, which I want that. Like, I want that, don't you?
Yeah, generally speaking.
But I would rather win.
Yeah, wouldn't we all?
I mean, at the end of the year, like when we're done here on April 17th, God, we're talking like we're totally done. And we're going to get to that. I do want to break down the playoff race. I really do. But when we're done for the season, like no one's going to, like, I'm not going to feel any better if the team gets along good.
Yeah, I'm the same boat. I mean, I like from watching, the chase on YouTube, like how close knit the group is. But I mean, ultimately, that's a factor, in winning, but it's not the end all be all. And I don't know. I mean, it's so strange, and it's almost hard to do this show because it's like Thursday night. I pretty well threw in the towel.
Did you really? I didn't.
Oh yeah. Oh, I just don't. The blue, like the Flames put their destiny in other teams' hands. Full stop. That's what they did. They didn't win enough games. They lost way too many games that they should have won, which they could have won had they been able to generate more offense, or not had those weaker parts of the roster we discussed, completely fall apart at key points in hockey games, or because they're deployed, improperly. God, I got so much going through my head as I talk about this. It's hard to even stay on track. Yeah, I mean, it's great to have a roster that gets along and likes each other and whatever, but ultimately, at the end of the day, this team didn't get it done. And you can point to as many factors as you want. The end result is you have to play good enough hockey throughout the course of 82 games to give yourself a bit of a cushion such that you're not relying on other teams to get you in. Now we need somebody to absolutely collapse to make the playoffs, so we're not going to make the playoffs. That's a certainty at this point. I don't care what the math says. We're not making it.
Let's talk about it. Like I would say there's a high likelihood that the playoff push is over.
I think it's done. I'm not even entertaining.
Let's dive into this a little bit, right? Okay, so St. Louis, we're not catching St. Louis. They have 87 points. They're a plus 17 goal differential. We have a better chance of Minnesota falling back to us than we do St. Louis.
I was thinking that too, yeah.
Now, Vancouver sits at 81 points. They've played one more game than us, so they have 9 left. We sit at 80 points, and we have 10 games left. I'm willing to write off Utah or you. They sit at 76 points and have 9 games left. I don't see how they get in.
Yeah. And the Canucks, by the way, are, as we're recording, down 3-1 to the Jets with about 7 minutes left in the third period.
Yes, so that is a factor. They're going to only have, they're going to have 8 games left and be at 81 points.
Yep.
I mean, we mathematically have a better chance than they do. But I sit and I look at the Minnesota, and I think with the way they've been playing lately, they're 5-4-1 in their last 10. They have a -9. I don't know. I'm a big goal differential guy, because it usually means if you're a playoff team or not. And you know that the St. Louis Blues are plus 17 goal differential. And the only other team in the Western Conference that's in a playoff spot that has a negative goal differential is Minnesota -9.
Yeah.
But you want to hear a scary stat? Calgary currently, as we record this on a Sunday afternoon, is -24.
Yeah, it's wild.
That we're even in this race is wild. And can it be done? Yeah, it can. But we're going to have to. We have 10 games left. I would believe we're going to have to win
9 of them.
8 of them.
I'm going to say 9.
If we win 8, we're in. I think if we win 8, we're in. Now,
talk about a tall order. Whew.
Can we do that? Yeah. But it's not a hill to climb. It's a mountain to climb.
I would, if I could conjure up an even worse analogy, I'd toss it out there. But it's bad. It's real bad. Now, we know the biggest reason, despite that goal differential, that we're still in this is Dustin Wolf, as we talked about. There's 2 things I've given up on. One was the playoffs. Number 2 was Dustin Wolf winning the Calder.
No, he's not winning the Calder.
And because of the bias for the Canadians and other Eastern teams. Things like that. I didn't think he had a great chance, even though he was the most deserving for the vast majority of the season. He has not put together enough strong starts lately, and Lane Hudson had like another 3 assists today. He's at 50-some assists. Lane Hudson's winning the Calder Trophy, and I mean, I'd love Wolf to win it, and you can still make a case, but nobody else is in the conversation, and they shouldn't be.
Can I ask you a question though about Dustin Wolf? And I love what he's done this year. And I still think when I walk away from this season, and let's say we don't make the playoffs, and I have all these tankers, I'm going to call them tankers, screaming in my ear about this, I'm going to say, listen, we gained 3 things this year. We gained the fact that we know Dustin Wolf is a number 1 NHL goalie, which is huge. We also gained players like, younger players like Coronado and Zary, and those guys have stepped up and have come to a different level and know what a playoff race is now, and have played in situations like that. And we've also learned this year on guys who can't play on a playoff NHL roster. So we've learned a lot this year.
Absolutely, yeah. This team is still very well equipped going forward. And all this talk about the draft pick, I find really interesting, because the truth is, teams that are a little bit closer, to being competitive, who already are competitive, they might look at a team like Calgary and say, hey, we'll trade with you so you can move up in the draft, but we'll take your first, and we want a prospect thrown in. Because we still have a ton of prospects that are very desirable, and a lot of them are in the midst of their own playoff chases, including the Moncton Wildcats and Etienne Morin, for example.
Yeah.
So the narrative around, you're not getting that draft pick, blah, 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 blah. First of all, there's the argument about how deep the draft is, which is always something you need to look at. But also, there's all kinds of crazy trades that happen, crazy moves. Like, I'm not married to the idea that the Flames had to bottom out to get a high pick. I'd rather have the fun of a playoff chase, and we had that. I don't think we do anymore, but until it's mathematically done, anything's possible, I guess. So, shall see.
Can I ask you? I took myself off track here. I got a question though. Did you think this is? I don't know if it's fair or not. Do you think that Dustin Wolf's been mediocre in the last 2 games? Because I have.
Absolutely, he has. The difference is, on a better team, we wouldn't notice it as much.
Totally agree. I totally agree. Yeah. But I have seen him. I felt like we got a Dustin Wolf early in the year that was okay because he was splitting a lot of time. Then once we gave him the reins, I thought he was really, really good. And then the last 4 games before Four Nations break, I thought he was either mediocre or below average. And then he got some rest, and then he came back from Four Nations, and he was like basically all world in my mind. I was off the charts happy with him. And I noticed in the last couple of games, it's just like, I don't think he's been bad at all. I think he's been really, been fine. And by no means am I pinpointing any loss of points on him in the last 2 games, but I felt like he was just okay. And honestly, last night in Edmonton, I kind of thought Dan Vladar would get the nod. I did.
I think a lot of people did because he's had some success against the Oilers, and he's been fantastic the last,
he has.
month or so.
Really good. Really, really good.
But as far as, it's funny, I don't like to give a lot of time to these things because they're idiots, but somebody tried to make the argument on X that the Wolf, the position was less important than what Hudson was doing in Montreal, which is just ludicrous because we've all seen goalies win Stanley Cups, right? Steal series. It happens all the time. So
you want to know something? Like, these awards, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just a old crabby bastard. I just like, I think they can throw them in the garbage. Like, I don't give a crap. Like, I don't care. I don't care if Dustin Wolf gets named the Calder Trophy winner this year. I know what Dustin Wolf is, the Calgary Flames. The management knows, and Dustin Wolf knows, and that's a hell of a lot more than we knew 12 months ago.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I mean, there's also the other things like we've often talked about in this show. The Norris Trophy goes to the top offensive defenseman. It doesn't go to the best defenseman. Hasn't in, I don't know that it ever has, actually. Things of that nature. And then whatever team has the bigger market share or the bigger market exposure, their player is going to win if it's a tight race. That's, I think I told you before on an episode quite some time ago, the last surprise that I remember with any trophy race was Barrett Jackman winning the Calder.
I remember that.
Yeah. It was wild.
Yeah.
But all that said, it's like we did learn a lot of things this season, and there's still things, regardless of what happens, that we can look forward to. One of which is the Saginaw Spirit are getting their heads kicked in their first round OHL playoff series, which means Zane Parekh could be available to join the Flames sooner than later.
Okay, so and I'm not. I was actually, it was in my notes to talk about it. If I had my notes, Kyle, I would probably be talking about it. But and another guy too, Suniev, UMass lost yesterday to Western Michigan, which was a really, really good game that I watched. But he's out now of the NCAA tournament, and so he's available to sign with Calgary, and he's a guy that may step into the lineup too. And for I'd say we don't see any of these guys until the final couple games, depending on where we're at here and how things go. But that's an interesting thing that we're probably going to get a look at one or more of those guys. So that's kind of exciting, I guess. I don't know. I mean, the Zane Parekh thing, like, I'm super excited. I just really, 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 I really hope there was some lessons learned in camp this year.
I think there was. I mean, he might do really well, playing alongside like Bahal next year and like a little bit limited minutes while he finds his game.
Yeah, no, that's a strong point. That's a strong point. They'd be a good pair simply because Bahal's that bigger, tougher stay-at-home guy, and then Parekh's more.
Like teach him how to play D at the pro level, right? So, and that's not to mention, like we've there's a lot of other things that happened too. We should jump to quickly. So Owen Say signed as a free agent with the Flames.
Yes,
a guy who's considered to have some NHL upside. He's from London, Ontario originally. He's done pretty good stats at the college level as well. And the bigger news, I guess, is Jacob Battaglia signing with the Flames as well. Had a really strong season. I got really confused when the Flames tweeted it too. Did you see that when the Flames sent it out?
Why? I just saw. I guess
they tweeted Bates, which is like, I guess, a nickname for him. But I immediately think of Bates Battaglia, who played for years in the NHL with the Carolina Hurricanes. But there's no relation between the two.
There's no relation?
Nope. No, a name like Battaglia, and there's no relation between those two guys. It's wild.
Holy. I would have thought it was his dad.
We all would have thought so, right? But anyway, I guess the only point I'm trying to make is that there's a lot.
He was a second rounder in 24, right? Yeah.
So
3-year entry level deal. That's good.
Yeah, well, on the prospect side, they're taking care of business. Not to get BTO stuck in your head, but they're cleaning things up. They're getting guys signed. They're heading into kind of off-season mode. I mean, they're going to obviously the narrative within their room and to the media is going to be, oh, we're still hopeful to get in or whatever. Be that as it may, Conroy's tidying up some loose ends, and I think we're going to have an interesting summer. And as far as the guys go that are on this team, Kadri, for example, has had an unbelievable second half. I don't see him replicating that again next year, so maybe he's a trade chip, as we've often talked about here as well. So there's lots of things going on.
I want to. Can I say my piece on that? I was pretty critical around trade deadline of moving Kadri, and I still think we should have moved Kadri, especially now with where we're at. But hindsight's 2020, right? I love what Nazem Kadri has done for this team this year. I have nothing but good things to say. And what he's done was scoring 2 OT winners in a row. I believe that's the first Flame to ever do that. He has scored so many clutch goals. I think he has 700th point the other night. He's just done one thing after another, and it's been awesome to watch. It's been awesome to watch, and I love what he's done with us this year. I just look at his contract and I look at his age, and I'm like, man, let's make hay while we can and get something for this guy and move him out, move that contract out, and let's see what happens here. And I know that sounds completely ludicrous, but this is a project, right? This doesn't happen overnight, and it is a retool that's going to take a few years. And I think that would speed our retool up even and help put this team in better position to open the new arena with a much more potent offensive team.
I guess it depends on what's out there for deals. I mean, I think the team also feels an affinity to keeping some veterans around, which I understand, but we already have a few that are
Huberdeau and Uyghur, right?
So
Huberdeau, Uyghur.
Yeah,
totally good with that.
Here's a difficult question, actually, because it's been on my mind a lot. I said on a more recent episode that Uyghur was like my captain. I love the way he plays. I love the way he conducts himself. I love his poise and demeanor on the ice. I understand why they give it to Backlund, and Backlund's been, with the team forever and a day.
He's been good.
Do you feel that Backlund was the right choice for captain?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm steadfast on that. I am. And you know what? I think it's perfect timing too, because here's why. When we gave him captain, if we wouldn't have given it to him, we would have given it to Anderson at that moment. I think we've learned in the last 24 months that Anderson may not be here, first of all. I think Backlund's done fine, and I think Backlund's got one more year in Calgary, and then I think it gets handed off to Uyghur, and we move forward, right?
Yeah.
I think it was a really good decision because you knew it was a safe choice, right? You knew what you're getting with Backlund. And I said, somebody at X last night tweeted out that a captain doesn't turtle. Come on, give me a break. Perry jumped him. Like, what are you doing here? Like,
yeah.
Like
that's also just a stupid thing to say in general. I mean,
I just saw that and I was like, just shook my head. But I think has Backlund played to the level we wanted him to this year? No. But you know what? I'm deathly afraid that's what we're going to get with Kadri 2 years from now.
Oh yeah, most certainly. The only thing that can happen, and Huberdeau kind of did it in a positive sense this year. The only thing that happen with a player as they get older is they have to find ways to simplify and modify their game such that they're still effective. Not as effective as they were when they were younger, because God knows that's not possible. But to age like something like a fine wine. So like Ray Bourque was an effective defenseman up until he retired. Mark Giordano, was so effective for so long. When his play finally dropped, it dropped quick. Huberdeau, not being as effective of a playmaker, probably because he doesn't have as much support as he had in Florida, but getting to the front of the net and scoring goals. I mean, if these guys can adapt their game, and Backlund is the guy that can safely slide down your lineup from not an ideal second line center, but a second line center to the perfect third line center to maybe next season. Yeah, maybe next season he's the best fourth line center in the league, which is we're 32nd in that category this year. So.
Jeez, the Rooney fan club there. Oh boy.
And I don't even want to blame him. The guy's still a pro hockey player. He's played significantly more meaningful hockey than I'll ever even dreamt about. But it's just watch the games, man. The results are there or they're not there, depending on how you look at it. And it's it's frustrating. And again, I'll come back to that point once more, just to get people thinking about it. Look what Morgan Frost has done. Look what Zari's done when he's not dealing with a banged up knee. There's talented players in this team. They're not McDavid. They're nowhere near that good. But there's enough offensive pieces in this team that if they're deployed properly, and you can count on your lesser pieces to not get their heads beat in when they're on the ice, this is a playoff team. Thanks largely again to Dustin Wolf, but it's not a lack of star power.
In defense of the team, though, most playoff teams do have a good goalie. So, he's a piece, right? Yeah. He's a piece of this puzzle. And I don't know. I sit and I look at what Morgan Frost did in the Dallas game. I wish he could replicate that more. I mean, he was off the charts good that night. I thought he was super, super good. And I think that'll come. I think we'll see that more and more out of him.
Oh, still a great trade.
It was a great trade. It was a great trade. Let's talk about the injury.
Oh God. Yeah. What can you say? Just
how bad a luck, I feel for this guy, and I hope this doesn't start hurting his progression. That's my biggest fear, is because injuries, you just don't know how bodies are going to react, right? And I think they skated by pretty luckily on the first injury, and this one looked as bad to my mind. Just that the knee was bending the opposite direction, right? And it didn't look good. It didn't look good at all. And I thought, I can't believe this is happening. That's all I could think of, is I can't believe this is happening. And I don't know. The news has not been fully released. We've heard week to week lower body injury, and I guess if I had to throw in my 2 cents, I guess I'm highly doubtful we see him again this year.
I would have just ruled him out for the rest of the regular season. There's no benefit point of him coming in to play game 81 or game 82.
I agree.
It's completely useless. And in fact, it's probably dangerous considering he's doing it's the same knee again, right? So,
same knee.
I would just shut him down. If they happen to, by a miracle of God, get into the playoffs, then you can have that discussion then. But forget about it. It was a freak accident. I thought it was kind of reckless and weird looking on Rantanen's part, the way it all happened. But it is what it is. There's no malintent there. It's a shitty play. And it's just awful luck. And that was the most unlucky game I've ever seen. I don't want to fixate on just the Dallas game and all the bad luck that cost them that. I also have a tendency of late to fixate on the 2 losses in St. Louis in January. And some people said, oh, well, they could have got those points anywhere else. I was like, well, no, you gave the points up to the team that you're chasing, right? Gave them away. You played terribly. But take-home point, overarching point, there's many, many things that went wrong this season. The shitty thing is that so many more things went right that with a little bit of luck, we would be in a playoff spot, you have to believe. So, it is what it is. But as far as Zary goes, he's a huge piece of this team going forward. I think he's going to have a breakout year next year if he can avoid injury. Realistically, the injury in Anaheim, the first time you heard his name was kind of the beginning of the end of the season.
Kind of seemed like it, but God, we battled through some things this year, and
big time.
You said a minute ago. We catch a couple breaks and we're in the playoffs here, and none of us I think we lose track. We alter expectations, and I know I do it too. I'm guilty of it. But if me and you would have been sitting here on October 5th saying, "Hey, we're going to be battling for a playoff spot come April 1," we would have thought it was an April Fool's joke, right?
Oh, 100%. This team looked awful going into the season. Then they went 5-1. It's like, what the hell? Then they're like, oh, just waiting for every other team to figure it out. And then they did, and they slid a bit. And, but yeah, a little, had Vladar been as good all year as he had been in the games that he played of late, had Zary not got hurt, had Sharangovich repeated any semblance of last year's success, it's a playoff team. You can point to just a handful of things, like a little bit of tweaking. This is a different story, but it's unfortunate, this is the situation we're in, but the future's still bright. We still have a new arena being built, and we have a lot of really good players in the system and more to come. So I'm going to try to focus on the positives.
Speaking of positives. That's not a positive of what I saw last night. Is okay. I got a question for you since you're my Canadian buddy. Hockey Night in Canada. How do they determine who the broadcast?
Oh, I was going to talk about this.
this brings us. Yes, it does. It brings us to our X factor, and it comes from anything as Pospisil. No way they're making us listen to Jack Michaels. Why is this?
I've talked to Kelly Rudy a little bit, and I'd kind of like to ask his opinion on that, because there's enough broadcasters to do national broadcasts. I don't think that we should have had John Abbott on that that broadcast, and we should not have Jack Michaels. And I can't stand Jack Michaels, not just because he's the Oilers guy, but just his delivery. It's not for me.
Why is it? Who makes? I mean, Hockey in Canada does such a damn good job. I love their intermissions. I love the after hours. I love everything. Like I just don't understand. Like national broadcasts are supposed to be neutral.
Yep,
that is like the furthest thing from neutral you can get.
Oh, it's terrible. There's absolutely no need of it. It shouldn't happen. It's the same as what I said about Cassie Campbell being married to the Flames assistant GM. Should not be calling Flames games, and she hasn't for quite some time, thankfully. Louis DeBrusk should never be calling Jake DeBrusk games in Vancouver or Boston at the time when I first made that comment. Like, there's certain ethics of journalism that should be applied here, and one of them should be on national broadcasts, you get somebody neutral.
Mind-blowing.
Well, it is, because it's like we've gotten so far away from some of the basic tenets of broadcast journalism, and to me, that's kind of one of them. And I'm sure some people think, "Oh, you guys make a big deal because you're Flames fans." No, it was John Abbott. I feel the same way. I'm watching a national broadcast. This isn't my Tuesday night Sportsnet West game.
Yeah, totally different.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and to be fair to the Oilers fans, those games for you. That's when you get your Jack Michaels. That simple.
They surely don't have an NFL playoff game have one of the team's broadcasters. It just doesn't happen.
No, and again, it shouldn't happen, right? So, and it kind of takes away from like the luster of like everybody was so torn up when we lost Rick Ball, and rightfully so. Mm-hmm. I put on a Blackhawks game, I don't know, a week ago maybe, and it's like, there's Rick Ball, I miss him. But
a voice, I think, but I will say that I think John Abbott's done a really good job this year.
He has done a really good job. I guess my point though is that Rick Ball is now Chicago's guy, and he's somebody who should have ascended to doing national games for NBC or for Hockey Night in Canada or something. That hasn't happened, at least as of yet. But now he's Chicago's guy, and good for them. They get a great guy, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want to hear Chicago's guy, Rick Ball, on Hockey Night in Canada between Calgary and Chicago.
Oh, I know. Like, I know. I'm with you.
Maybe that point will make it known that we're not biased about this being an Oilers game, because we all want to hear Rick Ball again, right? But anyway,
no kidding. So let's talk about your Hockey for Heroes. You're at $2,055, correct?
Yeah. And actually, I got a little bit more cash here. I got to throw on the people who have given me for some tickets to win some booze. So I have a nice time booked at our junior rink, the Avenir Center, on Friday for myself and the guys I'm playing with to just get acquainted and pass the puck around for an hour or so.
It's the next level's 3,000, correct?
Next level is 3,000. 3,000 is wherein you get the opportunity to play in the alumni shootout. And then if you go to 5,000, you can actually play potentially in the alumni game. So I hit the first tier, which means I get a free Warrior stick to go along with the swag.
Well, I want to see the stick used. So let's keep going. Yeah. We need donations. We need everybody to get on. We got a link on the webpage. We got a link all over the place. You'll see it on social media again this week. It's for a great cause. Kyle, what's the cause again? New Brunswick Heart
Stroke Foundation. So, I mean, anybody who's been affected by, those medical issues in the past, of course. So, it's for a great cause. It raises a ton of money. It's a lot of fun for the community too, to come out and see some guys that they cheered for in the NHL, as well as the idiots they know like me. Actually,
I want to see it on video. We will have it. If Kyle is in the shootout, we will have a video of it on the podcast. So,
awesome.
Like, we need to get him up to that level. We need to get to 3,000 this week. And then in the coming weeks, let's try to push that to 5, because it'd be really, really fun to watch him play in this game. And of course, the money is going for a great cause on top of that. So please help us out.
Yeah, I got to read this part of our group chat too. So we added this new guy to the group because we need an extra player. And somebody put in quotations, average hockey player, great drinker. Boy, has he found the right team. So I said, what about crappy hockey player, full-blown alcoholic? And Buddy replies, that works too, team captain.
Oh boy.
But yeah, it really is all for the fun and the interaction with the former NHL guys. And I mentioned some names before. They're all on the Heart and Stroke Hockey Heroes Foundation website. If anyone wants to check it out, you can Google that.
There will be a link. I will have a link for you.
Yeah, I've already been asked to, as I mentioned previously, to mess with Matthew Barnaby on behalf of Sabres fan. And
I got some money for Ryan Kessler / right?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
And then what was the other one? Who am I trying to think of here? I'm not going to mess with Darren McCarty because if I mess with any of these guys, I'm going to get killed, right? But so the Ryan Kessler / was that's probably the big one. If Corey Perry was actually retired and he was in this, I'd probably spending a night in jail.
We probably could get you way over the $5,000 mark if we could guarantee a Corey Perry cross check.
If the money was going directly to me and not the foundation, I could probably retire with what I'd raise for assaulting Corey Perry. So, especially after what he did to our captain last night. But anyway,
it was expected. He's got to do that because you know what? His team looked like a bunch of cowards the game before in Dallas, and no one came to the defense of their goalie. Either they don't like him or they know he sucks, and nobody came to his defense. So Corey Perry is like, "Oh shit, I gotta go out and be a tough guy here now against Michael Backlund of all guys to pick. Picks Backlund to be tough guy against. Wow, geez.
Yeah, right. And actually, this kind of segues into one of the reasons I mentioned about star power versus depth. I said, talking to West Coast Hockey Bias, who's a really good Twitter follow, or X, whatever. I'd said to him that I felt this might be the year that the Kings knock off the Oilers because they're just a deeper team, right?
Sure.
Because, and again, like Edmonton is just so top heavy with their stars, but we'll see. That's the beauty of the playoffs, right? I mean, if the Canadians can sneak in, they could do some damage. Obviously the Jets have a strong team. So even if the Flames end up missing out, like it looks like they will, still lots to look forward to. And again, we have so many good prospects at the junior and college levels. Pay attention.
Follow them.
Moncton's up 2-0 on Quebec right now. 2 games. They're going back to Quebec for 3 games and back home for 2 if necessary, but they're up 2-0. Saginaw's down 2-0. Oh, imagine this. Rimouski, the host city of the Memorial Cup this year, the second best team behind Moncton in the Quebec League, they beat the Charlottetown Islanders 10-0 in a playoff game last night. 10-0
in a playoff game.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's scary, right?
Wow. This week, busy week for the Flames fans. Monday night in Colorado, Tuesday night in Utah, Thursday night home to Anaheim, and Saturday night home to the Vegas Golden Knights. The road doesn't get any easier, and it gets busier, right?
Yes. And quick update, because as we've been recording, minor change, Vancouver did lose 3-1 to Winnipeg. Standings as of now, Calgary 72 games, 80 points. Vancouver's played 74, 881, so 2 games in hand, 1 point back. St. Louis, 3 games in hand on them, but 7 points back.
I think that's the only way in is Minnesota losing.
And I am inclined to agree with you. So yeah, Minnesota is at 74 games played and tied with 87 points with the Blues. So I don't want to believe because I just get my hopes up, and I'm notorious for doing it anyway, so I'll leave it at that.
All right, Flames fans, we're back again next week as we head out tonight. Music from Searching for Scarlet, and it also ends with a video they just released at the end of the podcast. Also, so stick around, watch that. Good guys, good music, Searching for Scarlet. Flames fans, we're back next week. Have a good week, and you know what? We got to run the table this week, right, Kyle? We got to run the table.
Yep, that's all we can do.
All right, take care, Flames fans.
See you guys.
Thanks for listening to Flames Unfiltered with Brad Burud and Kyle Lewis, your source for unfiltered Calgary Flames hockey talk. Keep it locked on flamesunfiltered.ca. Subscribe where you get all your podcasts to never miss an episode. Flames hockey talk every week, presented by Inside Edge Hockey Media Group.
I crawled to you and I said all the things that you said to say. Have I said enough? Do you like it? Yeah, yeah. Do you like it? Yeah, yeah. I know you play these dirty games. They're killing me and I know that you love to watch me beg. So here I am. Do you like it? Yeah, yeah. Do you like it? Yeah, yeah. I don't wanna be the puppet for you. I don't wanna put the hand that's feeding. I don't wanna be a sucker for you. Oh yes, you. I hate myself for begging. I hate myself for staying. I hate myself for listening to you. It's too little too late, I can't escape. So I'm begging you, please. I changed all the things that you told me to change.